little over 10 years ago, the web finally got real enough that it had the potential for being used as a learning medium. And I got really excited about this. I mean, my hair was on fire. I was a nut. I told my company that we've got to change the whole direction. This multimedia CD-ROM stuff looks very cool, but the future is the web. The connections are there. The economics are there. We've got to do it. Listen to me, guys. Let's stop this stuff we're doing in spite of the fact that we're all excited about it. We've got a lot of our customers' money to make it. Let's go for the web. And they did the only practical thing they could, and they fired me. E-learning didn't slide in just, hey, sure, no-brainer, non-controversial. For a while, this was crazy. You know, what do you mean you're going to use electronics instead of stand-up instructors? But e-learning did come of age, and it's had one fantastic run. I mean, they're just amazing things that have happened in the last 10 years. But from my perception, the world has now changed so much that it's time for a new ballgame. Now, what this is, by the way, is the island of Cozumel in Mexico, because after I was fired, I thought, well, I need a nice place where I can go and sort of lick my wounds and come up with a vision of e-learning, and Cozumel's a great place to do it. If you get a chance to go there, do so. And I'd come back with like a 30-page vision, and we've just about gotten to the point of fulfilling it. But now it's time to throw it away, because the changes in the world is it's no longer me as a learner, it's us, because we're all connected in things together. This is sort of the stuff that George Siemens was alluding to. I mean, it's collective knowledge that matters now. 10 years ago, we had certainty on things. We made 10-year plans in business. And now everything's a crapshoot. It's up for grabs. And frankly, things have gotten to going so much faster because of the interconnections. We can no longer prepare courses and things and expect them to still be relevant by the time they're developed and ready to be delivered, because the world has changed on us. So I'm a proponent now, very much, of the social network paradigm, sort of we each one teach one. And I think the economics all of a sudden have switched, where these, and I won't go through them in excruciating detail, all this stuff's on the web, but if you look at like Intel, where they can set up on a free piece of software with no staff assigned a system which is where 40% of the employees go for day-to-day information about this widely dispersed company, saving easily $20 million a year, well, that's pretty good payback. Or if you look at SAP, where 9 out of 10 customer inquiries are answered not by SAP staff, but by volunteers who want to improve their reputation. I mean, these are fantastic returns. A lot more than you can get by automating training. In fact, I have to say I'm shocked that I don't see much of this type of thing represented 2 floors below. I mean, what's with that? Here's what I do if I were taking just a business perspective on learning. Here's where we are now, where we invest most things in courses and sort of e-training and didactic stuff, and yet most of the return comes from things like the social networking sites. Well, what if we changed this equation and said that instead of this, we spent less money, because that's clearly what management's looking for these days, but we allocated more of it to the pull sort of learning instead of the push sort of learning? Wouldn't we think that we could change the results to be more like this, because there's a higher payback from the social stuff? And people like doctors say, logically, yeah, okay, but our organization doesn't believe in that. And we don't know if it works. And where's the proof? Or, the other morning, Jay, this informal learning stuff, how do we know this is sort of good enough? Well, I got 2 words for you. And the words are Barack Obama. America would have a president named John McCain, and God forbid what he'd bring in with him if it weren't for social networking. Because this is a president who rode in on networks. He consulted with the guy who developed the social network system underpinning this very conference, Mark Andreessen. His senior advisor is a guy who's head of Google. I mean, there's a very well-orchestrated campaign that was all around social networks. Wouldn't it be cool if in your organization the president could say something and people could be discussing it that afternoon and reflecting on it and putting their hearts in it enough that they're going to change behavior? I mean, that would be a hell of a lot different than what we do now, which is sort of start something going and maybe something happens a few months later. So I think we really need to think serious about change. And I'll go so far as to say that if I were looking at it just from a business perspective and our chief learning officer, I probably want to just abolish the training department, hand compliance to the legal people to do, hand certification to the IT people to do, go and become a hero with the social networking stuff, because if I bring in millions of dollars of benefits, at least I'm going to have my job. I'm going to hand it to Charles, who's going to talk a little bit about the nature. You guys call it the credit crunch, which to me is a terrible piece of euphemism, because it's not just financial institutions and it's not just credit. I mean, when you see things like this in the news that we've never seen before in our lifetimes, when you see a meltdown of most of our conventions and just scary things in the newspapers, this ain't a credit crunch. This is the beginning of a whole new phase. We're in the death throes of the industrial age and coming into what I'll call the network era. Business, for a while, it's not going to give a damn about profits and efficiency. It's going to care about sustainability, about being around next year. Because like a third of the businesses that have big names out there are going to disappear. They're going to be swallowed up because they don't know how to play in this new environmental era. What would the world be like in this network era if instead of saying, oh boy, we're going to dedicate 5% of our resources to training and be really enlightened, what if we're going to dedicate 60% of our resources to training and to sharing knowledge and to spreading our culture? And what if we looked at things not as little drops of knowledge that could be tested, but as learning to become something rather than learning how to do something? Now, these are stretch ideas, and this is only one example. But personally, it just started to gnaw on me. We have this crying need, I think, for innovation, for understanding sustainability, for having a totally different look at what we're up to. So